Did you know that God's Learning Channel is available on a wide variety of different platforms? For starters, GLC can be watched in parts of Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Colorado by cable or antenna. GLC is also available to watch on our Galaxy 19 direct-to-home satellite equipment throughout North America with no subscription fees. Great for viewers in rural areas with no internet connection. Our free broadcast and program archives are available via 24/7 web streaming on our website at glctv.tv. For our online friends, GLC Radio and audio podcasts are available for free streaming throughout iTunes, TuneIn, or Shoutcast on your computer or mobile device. Likewise, our YouTube channel contains hundreds of free video clips that you can easily share with your friends and family. You can also watch our live broadcast or program archives of your favorite episodes directly on your television with an affordable subscription-free device called Roku, containing thousands of channels to choose from. We urge our viewers to take advantage of these various ways to watch or listen to GLC, and we ask that you spread the word to your friends and family. We can't continue to grow without your help.
Well, welcome to the weekend update with the Coopers.
Yay.
Yay. Where we start, Coopers?
I think with the weekend lineup.
That's where we usually start on Fridays.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Tonight at 8 p.m. We'll kick it off. This was such a great program. I don't know how I missed it from the beginning because this came from the vault, November of 2011. Rabbi Jeremy Gimpel. Everybody knows who he is now because of our Israel Inspired program.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Mike Isley, the guy who was responsible for bringing him here. Mike Isley has Texans for Israel up in Amarillo.
Yeah.
Anyway, that'll be airing tonight at 8 p.m., Sunday at 2 p.m., and Monday as you're getting ready to go back to work, 7 a.m. Don't miss it. And then we have Audra Grace Shelby. This, too, is kind of from the vault, but watching this program with her, I realized we need to start re-airing the series that she did for us. So you can catch Audra at 1 a.m. Saturday at 8 p.m., and then Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. Yohanan Salamanca. This, too, was a really great program. That's going to be airing Saturday at 5 a.m., Sunday 1 a.m., Sunday night at 8 p.m. And then Umberto Porras and Daniel Scott. Daniel Scott was born in Pakistan. Very interesting testimony. And both Daniel Scott and Audra Grace Shelby help us understand the Muslim people and their need for Jesus.
Amen.
That's why we really encourage you to watch these programs.
Let me add one thing to what you just said.
Okay.
All you have on your secular newscast is stories about how we're going to handle the Muslims, and
The
it's
refugees.
a debate back and forth in the Republic. And what you broadcast here made it so much clearer than what the garbage is, that the propaganda.
Well, it doesn't really matter what is going on in the world where the Muslims are concerned. As Christians, I firmly believe that we need to understand what it is they're taught, what they believe,
That's right.
and how, in some ways, it's very close to what we believe. They believe in Abraham. They just think that the son that was sacrificed was Ishmael, not Isaac. They believe in Moses. They think Moses was Muslim. They acknowledge that Yeshua, Jesus, was a prophet. So there are some things, but it's up to us to love them into the kingdom. So anyway, I just really encourage you to watch both of those programs this weekend because they're great programs.
Amen.
Okay, also, I'll be reading from this today a little bit. Get your name in the drawing. We're going to be doing that on Monday. We've actually had several from Canada going, get my name in that hat. They're calling, they're emailing, they're buying online. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, one of our, a PayPal customer last night, that was the bottom message. Get me in that drawing.
All right.
So very exciting. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the teaching on the Sabbath. And you're really going to enjoy today's, so I hope. Also, we'll be getting out, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, we'll be getting out the year-end tax donation receipt letters next week. One of the things that we'll be addressing in that letter to obviously its financial partners is that GLC is still alive and well, because many people think that
We quit.
that we're gone,
Yeah.
that we're gone completely. They don't know that they can pick us up by other means. And when we changed off of when our
Our
contract with SCS ended, we thought we were ready to go, and such was not the case. But we're praising God that we didn't go black across the system.
Yes.
But there are a few cable systems that lost us, a few that we've gotten back on. Anybody who was before watching off the air, right now they can't see us. We've got to get all that up and running, and yes, that is very much in the works, and yes, we do need your financial support to help us do that. But that's one of the reasons that letter is important,
Yes.
so that our financial supporters realize, no, we're still here, and this is how you can find us. You know,
Right.
this is how you can tune in and watch. So they can always find us on the internet, either on our website by live stream in our archives, on Roku. They have a really cool thing called Chrome, I believe it is. It's a little thumb drive, really, that you, in the new TVs, you can stick it in and you can send the signal from your computer to your television and watch it on there.
How
So
about that?
anyway,
It's unbelievable what's happening in the electronics field.
technology is,
Awesome.
I think it's because God wants the truth to be known. Okay, I think we're ready for the lineup.
Well, it
I mean, for your letter.
Better?
makes me feel like an old man.
Makes me feel like an old man, too.
Now, here's a great letter. Starts out, Dear Al, Tommy, Amy, and staff. I remember all too clearly the state of the church in the early 1960s when a revival was so clearly needed. I, my family, and I am so sure many churches and others were crying out to God for His Spirit to come and send revival. I remember that. He most certainly did, and he did.
You know, he did do that. In fact,
Yeah,
your coming to the Lord is a
That's right.
direct result
Of that movement.
of that move of God
Yes,
in
it
the
was.
earth.
1969. You remember that, don't you?
I surely do.
Oh, yeah.
Changed my life
Yeah.
because I was the youngest of 5. So your coming to the Lord probably had a greater effect on me than any of my siblings. Okay, sorry.
It's not too late for the siblings. You know, history has recorded moves of God usually every some 20 to 30 years apart. Yet it has been almost 50 years since that great move of God. Sadly, it is so appalling to see the state of the what?
Of far too much.
Oh, okay. I thought that was state of Israel or some state of far too much of the visible church. We are in grave need of a major move of God. I believe that as the saints seek God for a revival in these great last days, God is going to raise up more ministries like GLC that will call for a return to our Jewish roots. It's a great statement.
You know what? I want to break in right there and point out that it has been 50 years since God has really poured out His Spirit. But I also want you to realize the recent history that has taken place. We had Israel becoming a state in 1948 after surviving 2,000 years being thrown out into the land. That does not, being thrown out of the land, that does not happen. It was a true miracle of God that he saved for our generation to see. This is incredible. And then not only did they become a state, they didn't have physical weapons to be able to defend themselves against the 5 surrounding nations that immediately attacked them. They won that war of 1948, the War of Independence. Then we had a war again in 1967. And this is when they got the Temple Mount back, all of East Jerusalem, all of that area. It was a mighty move of God. That was the 6-day war. And then we had the war of 1973, the Yom Kippur War.
Did you know, I've got a little section in my book I'm working on, and in the 70-year period, back to when, there has not been a 10-year period that Israel was not in a war.
Okay,
Right.
so my point, and I'm sorry I interrupted your letter,
Okay.
but my point is that so much of the church is still unable to see God's move on behalf of Israel and the Jewish people. They don't want to accept that they did not replace the Jewish people. So this is what we need to be praying for, that the scales of their eyes, the scales on their eyes fall off, much like they did for the Apostle Paul when he was on the road to Damascus to kill the believers. We need the scales to fall from the eyes of the church so that they can recognize God's move in this, because no, he's not going to give us anything more, I don't think, of his Spirit unless we're willing to accept his heart, what he has set aside and declared will be used for our Messiah to return. Okay, go ahead.
Well, it just ties right into the letter. It goes on to say, true heart holiness, the unity of the true church, and a humble walk with God that will allow the Holy Spirit to move with mighty power like new before. Wow. Brings back memory. We so appreciate the work the GLC is doing, and the fact that we can in person, in some ways, be a part of what God is doing through you. That comes from Gary and Goldie in Amarillo, and they watch on Suddenlink, Channel 20.
Okay, newsflash. You are not a small part of what GLC
That's
is
right.
doing.
No,
You are a huge part of what GLC is doing. We cannot do what we do without your support. It cannot be done. And we are so grateful to God for our partners. And we are so grateful that he has given you an understanding of the importance of the message of GLC.
and which they have written in this letter is really what I've been covering in that book. What happened and why did GLC get into this, and what are we doing?
I truly believe that God raised GLC up to be a voice to the church for Israel.
I believe so too.
And I
Because,
believe-
boy, we don't want to be caught on the wrong side.
well, that's what Numbers
battle.
12:3 Deuteronomy 12:3 says, or is it Genesis 12?
Genesis 12:3, bless Israel.
Yeah, and you'll get blessed. And look at what we're doing. We have been blessed to do that and got blessed back
It's
by
extremely,
Israel.
it's extremely humbling
Yes.
It is.
to realize that God has shown us his heart,
One more
that
thing.
he chose to show us his heart in such a way that we can share his heart with you.
Tie back into some of the things you said. We aren't through yet at GLC. I think it's just the beginning, even in my 83rd year, believe it or not, of age.
How I praise God for you guys, that he has renewed you and kept you going strong. Okay, it's time.
Okay.
This chapter is called The Five M's. The Hebrew word kadosh, holy, is representative of the mystery and majesty of the divine. Its first use isn't applied to a place or an object, but to a time, the seventh day. The very first thing that God declared as holy unto himself is the Sabbath. Now that alone should make us all sit up and take note. We first encounter the Sabbath as she steps out of the mist and the myth of creation. In the book of Genesis, there is no mention of the Sabbath as it relates to human beings. All we hear is that God rested on the seventh day, that he blessed the seventh day, and that he sanctified it. Only in the second book, Exodus chapter 16, that's a long way over there, do we meet the Sabbath again, this time turning to us. She does not, however, confront us directly as yet. Her face is still veiled in mystery. She is still the Sabbath of the Lord, part of his mysterious works. The children of Israel, stranded in the desert, are marveling at the strange sight of food being showered down to them from heaven. They wonder and ask in astonishment, "Man, who? What is this?" Their amazed query remains forever the name of this marvelous food, manna. They go out into the field every morning and gather it, an exact ration for each person. Comes Friday, the day before the Sabbath, and suddenly, wonder upon wonder, the heavens shower for each person a double portion. They rush to inform Moses, and he says to them, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Tomorrow is a day of solemn rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake what you'll bake, boil what you'll boil, and all that's left over lay by to be kept till the morning." So they laid it by till the morning as Moses bade them, and it did not become foul, and there were no worms in it. And Moses said, "Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the seventh day, which is a Sabbath, there will be none." The Sabbath comes to us here as if it were built into the mystery of creation itself. That there was a double portion on the 6th day, but none on the 7th, says Martin Buber, indicates that the Sabbath does not exist exclusively in the world of human beings. It also functions outside their world. The truth is that here, for the very first time, the Sabbath relates to the human being. If God wills, there is a world. Willed by God, nature takes its course. Willed by God, nature changes its course. If he wills, bread comes down from heaven as it comes up from the earth, but never on the Sabbath. True, it is his Sabbath, but it's meant for us too. All laws concerning the preparation of food for the Sabbath prior to the onset of Sabbath itself, which are practiced by observant Jews to this very day, are learned from the mysterious event of the manna and observance of the Sabbath in the desert. The Sabbath, however, does not remain in the realms of myth and mystery alone. With the consolidation of the tribes of Israel as a people, the Sabbath moves on to become institutionalized as part of a religious national constitution. It appears now as a basic mitzvah, as one of the foundations of the life of the people. We're approaching now what came to be considered the central event in the history of Israel and its religion, revelation at Sinai, the acceptance of the Ten Commandments. The major place which the Sabbath occupies in this event, the fact that it is the only ritual commandment to be thus documented, shows how essential it was considered. Without abandoning its mythical and mystical beginnings, it moved to a new plane, to a mitzvah, a commandment, a law which shows the way, which is the way. Even now, it will not become an arid, lifeless law and will always be nourished on the one hand by the fascinating myth and mystery that preceded it, as well as by new insights of memory and meaning that will still be attached to it. The memory of the passage from slavery to freedom, and the meaning of the combination of rest and holiness as it has been enacted in Jewish civilization throughout the ages. Thus, if one wants to see the Sabbath in its full stature, one ought to follow her, keeping in mind the 6M formula, common to the Sabbath and all biblical holidays. One can easily observe how the Sabbath grows from myth and mystery to mitzvah, memory, and meaning, and from there to the final stage, the sixth stage, the messianic. With every move, she retains also the earlier layers, which can be seen if we cut through the Sabbath vertically, in the same way that the various layers could be clearly seen in an archaeological tell. The Sabbath in the Bible grows in front of our eyes as a living organism. It still grows in depth of meaning and insight even today. One may also notice the interesting shift which takes place in the attribution of the Sabbath in the Bible. First, it's only referred to as Sabbath unto the Lord, then also as Sabbath unto you. As humanity intensifies its partnership with God, humanity also enlarges its share in the Sabbath. In the beginning, it's only He, God, who sanctifies the Sabbath. Afterwards, you, humanity, should sanctify the Sabbath. It's on the sacred ground of the Sabbath that the partnership of God and humanity comes to full fruition. It is in this sanctuary in time that God and humanity join together in holiness.
Is that out of that book?
That's out of that book.
Well, and that's the book we're going to have the drawing.
That's the book for the drawing. We don't sell this in the bookstore, but we are having a drawing right now. We have 3 of these on hand. We'll be doing a drawing Monday, and then the following Monday, and the following Monday. Get your name in the pot. It's not too late until we've drawn for the book.
Oh, yeah,
That's
there's
right.
something else.
But you have to call in request, or email us at info@glc. I'd suggest you call, unless you're in Canada.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome, awesome.
I'm glad you love that. I'm
do.
just like it. The Sabbath is really an incredible thing. Is the air choking you up? It's making me feel like my nose wants to run,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to let it. Okay, so we're going to move on to the news. Ynet Times of Israel is where this one comes from. 3 terrorists committed a combined stabbing and shooting attack Wednesday afternoon at Jerusalem's Damascus Gate in the Old City. Border Police Officer Hadar Cohen, 19, was rushed to nearby Hadassah Hospital on Mount Scopus in critical condition. After hours of efforts to save her life, Cohen succumbed to her wounds. Hospital officials said she was shot in the head. A hospital spokeswoman said, "We succeeded in stabilizing her condition for a time, but her head wound was so severe, she never had a chance."
Another female border police officer, aged 20, was in serious but stable condition at the hospital with wounds all over her body, including her head, the spokeswoman said. A young man was also lightly wounded in the attack. All 3 terrorists were shot dead at the scene by security forces.
Just before the attack, the 2 officers who had recently joined the border police and were undergoing training, along with their unit commander, approached 2 men who were sitting on a bench next to the Damascus Gate. The officers asked them for their ID when the men got up and then stabbed one of the officers, moderately wounding her. Cohen, the officer who died, shot the stabber, killing him. According to another border police officer who was on the scene, the other terrorist drew a Carl Gustaf rifle and started shooting.
Other border police officers on the scene then opened fire, at which point a 3rd terrorist arrived and shot Cohen at close range before being shot and killed. According to Palestinian sources, the attackers came from the Jenin area and were aged between 20 and 21. 2 of the attackers had been barred from entering Israel by the Shin Bet, and all 3 crossed over illegally from the West Bank, which is Judea and Samaria. 2 explosive devices were later found at the scene, along with 2 guns. The explosives were neutralized. Hamas in the Gaza Strip praised the attack, calling the terrorists heroes and saying that the incident proves that the Palestinian people will persist with the Intifada.
Just hours after the attack, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas hosted the families of 11 Palestinian terrorists involved in other Jerusalem attacks. Ynet reported that the terrorists had all carried out attacks against Israelis in the past 4 months, and their bodies remain in Israeli custody. Among those present at the meeting in Ramallah was the family of a terrorist who killed 3 Israelis on a bus in October, as well as the relatives of another terrorist who careened his car into Israeli pedestrians, exited the vehicle, and then stabbed the victims.
The families of the terrorists called upon Abbas to act to secure the release of their loved ones' bodies from Israel. Abbas said that the Palestinian leadership is making great efforts to do so in order to ease the pain for the families. Your sons are martyrs, the Palestinian Authority president told the families. The meeting was broadcast by the official Palestinian news agency. Well,
Infuriating. And now we have another one.
A follow-up.
That is a follow-up, and this is actually really good news.
Oh, okay.
It comes from Ynet. Following a terror attack, that one we just told you about in Jerusalem, in which border police officer Hadar Cohen was murdered and her colleague wounded, the headline on the website of U.S. TV network CBS on Wednesday read, 3 Palestinians killed as daily violence grinds on. The 3 Palestinians killed were the terrorists who carried out the combined shooting and stabbing attack and were shot dead at the scene. In response to the negligent and distorted reporting, the Israeli Government Press Office, the GPO, announced that it was weighing far-reaching measures in response. GPO head Nitzan Chen said on Wednesday, "This time we will not let it pass quietly. We are considering rescinding press passes from journalists and editors who are negligent in their work and present headlines that flip the reality." Al Jazeera's breaking news tweet about the terror attack in Jerusalem wasn't much different. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Jerusalem also reacted angrily to the distortions. MFA spokesperson Emmanuel Nachshon said, "The audacity of CBS headline is unparalleled. The headline is biased and false." Following the rapid intervention of both the MFA and the GPO, the CBS headline was changed to, "Palestinians kill Israeli officer, wound another before being killed." This is why GLC is so important.
That's right. That's right.
Need I say more?
Well, I don't know. Some people are hard of hearing.
Okay, let's tackle this last one. We got time.
Okay. Well, this story is also from Ynet. The U.S. Deputy Minister of Defense visited Israel a few weeks ago and saw the anti-tunnel project in its early stages around the Gaza Strip. Impressed, he approved $40 million to cover its first year. The U.S. government is set to invest $120 million in developing the manufacturing and Israeli invention for detecting and identifying tunnels following approval of the budget transfer. Israel is set to invest a similar amount.
The U.S. itself is in need of such a system along its border with Mexico. With the Americans in the picture, there's a chance that the project in Israel will start to make some progress. The injection of American money and technology will shorten the process, and the system will be upgraded, meaning that it will be deployed more quickly. How much faster? Journalist Alex Fishman says, "Well, that's a secret. Hamas would pay a lot to find out." From his perspective, an injection of U.S. cash into Israel's anti-tunnel technology will speed up its development, but the increased activity on the Israeli side is liable to provoke Hamas into jumping the gun and launching an early surprise attack.
Another one.
They have spent a lot of time, effort, and money reconstructing tunnels that were destroyed by Israel during the last war.
Well,
Close it out. We got 10 seconds.
Well, that's where they sent all this money to rebuild and what the money went for was rebuilding the tunnels.
That's right.
Have a good weekend. Thank you for helping us.
And pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Shabbat Shalom.